You are listening to the Mohua show, where it's all about celebrating the Junoon among changemakers and their journey.
We really need new editors. We really need a younger and younger lot of editors to come in. Not just being able to write good English or speak good English, but also to be able to understand nuances of a text.
What do you think would be the key traits or skills, do you believe that are absolutely essential for someone to succeed as an editor in today's publishing world?
We really need new editors. We really need a younger and younger lot of editors to come in. I think at some point, the editor and the text, they sort of form a bond which is outside of anything, even outside the author. So whatever else is happening, you want, that to shine.
From editing the words of literary giants to crafting ghostly tales that tackle the imagination, Sudheshna Shome Ghosh has seen and shaped it all. Sudheshna Shome Ghosh is a reader, writer, translator, and editor of books for children and adults. She has worked in the Indian publishing industry for over 25 years. She is also the co-founder of Cozy Nook Library, a children's library in Bangalore. Today, we are diving into the world of publishing, editorial grit, and what it means to keep storytelling alive in the digital age. So, whether you're a writer, a reader, or just someone curious about how books are born, this episode is just for you. Welcome, Sudeshna, in today's episode.
Thank you, Mohua. Lovely to be here.
Thank you so much. So, Sudeshna, you worked with legends like Sudha Murthy, Ruskin Bond, and
Yeah.
APJ Abdul Kalam, and you've had decades of experience, in
Mm.
publishing. So,
Yeah.
what still gets you excited to wake up and work on books every day of your life?
I wonder that myself because I've been doing this for so long. And just the other day, a friend was saying, it's amazing how everything in your life is connected to books. Uh, but I think the fun part of publishing is always the thought of the new book, whether it's a book I'm about to commission, the book I'm editing, the book I'm just thinking about that it'll be nice to have this book on our list. All these things make up publishing, and that's what makes publishing so exciting, even after 25 more than 25 years now. But I think it's there are various things because publishing is also a very people facing role. When you're an editor, you tend to think that we'll be sitting in a corner and editing, but actually it's a lot of talking to a lot of people, a lot of knowing what is going on around you. So all that put together, it's about building relationships. I mean, some of my authors have become friends over the years. They are well wishers. So all of that, sort of builds into the publishing life, and that is what makes it exciting. And even now, even if it's a manuscript that is driving me nuts because there are so many things to do in it, but that itself also feels very interesting because I know finally in the end this is going to be a book that's going to be read. It's going to be on the shelves forever, hopefully forever. So yeah, so that's what makes things exciting even after many years.
So, in your experience as a commissioning editor, what would you say is the most complex and demanding part of the job, and how do you personally navigate all these challenges? So when you're commissioning a book.
I think the complex part would be the initial bit when sometimes it's very easy because sometimes someone will come to you with a complete manuscript which is just perfect and you want to do it. I think that is every commissioning editor's dream. Happens maybe once in 10 years. um, but I think it's the initial bit when you and the author are both really fired up about an idea. You're discussing it. You're working with the author to figure out how best they can do this and what are the challenges that they will face, and then sort of sticking with them while they write the book, because sometimes it's a long gap between you decide if this book is something that you want to publish, and then you commission it, and then the author is sitting and writing it, and then they go through their pains of am I doing this right, how do I find this information, can you read this little bit and tell me is this working. So all these things. So I think that is the most the fun and challenging part of it. The other part, I mean, the actual editing part is something that's I really enjoy. And sometimes it's challenging, but mostly it's quite nice. The other part is the post publication part, when the book is out there in the stores, and then the next stage of the, everything has to kick in, when the marketing has to kick in, then the sales have to happen, the promotions have to happen, the author has to be, invited to various forums so that they can speak about the book. So making sure that all these things happen, that is also like part of the commissioning editor's job, so all, or a publisher's job. So all these things put together makes it like really, that is what I find is the most challenging bits, those two bits.
So, what do you think would be the key traits or skills, do you believe that are absolutely essential for someone to succeed as an editor in today's publishing world? Especially for our listeners, it would be wonderful if somebody wants to pursue this as a career.
No, firstly, I think we are uh, the Indian trade publishing, English trade publishing, we really need new editors. We really need a younger and younger lot of editors to come in. So the more they come in, that's the better. Bringing in new ideas, new ways of, what books should do, what books should accomplish. So that is something that I think is very, very much required in the publishing industry. The key traits, I would say, I think one of the main traits I would say is curiosity and awareness.
Okay.
Because I think you have to be really curious about everything. Because it's only later in your career that you maybe you'll be like, okay, I'll do only these kind of books. But initially in your career, you will be given all kinds of books to work on. So it's good that if you're really curious about a lot of things, you're also aware of things, because you cannot be an editor if you take things that is written for granted. That is your role, basically, to question everything that is there on the paper. Even if you trust the author implicitly, you have to question. So that these two things, critical thinking, awareness, curiosity, these are very, very uh, high requirements in an editor. I think I would put them slightly above language skills, but
Okay.
language skills also have to be very, very strong. That not just being able to write good English or speak good English, but also to be able to understand nuances of a text. Suppose you're editing a translation, then is this translation is it just like a beautiful text in English, or is it true to the original work? So these kind of nuances is very important, and all this I think comes in if the person is a reader.
Mhm.
I mean, some of it I think you can learn in university and college when they tell you how to do critical thinking and all of that, writing, reading. But a lot of it comes in just by reading. If you read
Absolutely.
widely,
Yeah, yeah,
then
yeah.
there are a lot of things, like when we started off in our careers, late 90s, there was no publishing course as such. There was one course which was done by the NBT, the National Book Trust. I remember I applied for the course and I went off on a holiday to visit my grandfather. And I was selected for the course, but they didn't send a letter, they sent a telegram. Right?
Those were the days,
I mean,
Sudeshna.
even in the late 90s, no one sent telegrams, I think. And of course, I missed it and I never got to do the course. And so when I went into publishing, I was completely like a raw. I didn't know anything. I mean, I'd done a course in journalism, so I knew what is editing, but I had never actually, done a degree or whatever in it. So everything you pick up while you're doing stuff. So you have to be very, very involved in everything. Like if this is a book I've been given, the author may be, not being very nice to me or whatever, which happens. But I will do everything to make sure that this book is the best it can be. So that mindset is very important.
That's not an easy space to reach, Sudeshna.
That is not an easy space to reach, but I think at some point, the editor and the text, they sort of form a bond which is outside of anything, even outside the author. So you're just like looking at the text by itself, and you want that to be the best it can be. You can see the potential in it. So whether whatever else is happening, you want that to shine. So these things are this kind of a commitment to the written word is something that one finally
What a
looks for.
beautiful thing to say, commitment to the written word. Wow. So
And
when an author submits a book pitch, that doesn't quite land, what are usually the red flags for you? How important is pitch clarity, when it comes to your decision-making process on which book you would, really like to commission?
I think, like you mentioned, pitch clarity is very important. Like, uh, firstly, the person submitting has to understand that the editor probably has 10 other pitches lying in their
Yeah.
inbox. So you have to make yours crisp. At the same time, it has to have all the information.
Okay.
It has to be, it has to highlight what is new about your idea, because we are always talking about that there are more books out there than there are readers, which is which is kind of getting to be true because everybody seems to be writing. So and a publishing house will have limited space on its
Mhm.
list. um, so if it is a discerning place, they will want to know. The other thing that's very important is to know your publisher. So if you have written a very academic book and you send me the page, then it might be a like really good idea and really good book, but it may not be for me because we are not academic publishers. So so it's good to do a research on who are the publishers who actually publish your kind of book. Go look them up, look up their lists, and then in your pitch you also say what is new about your book, why it should be published, and it should also tell you a little bit about yourself, because you not to like make a big essay out of it, but why you are the best person to write this book. So these things are very important for a pitch to stand out in an a very overflowing inbox of any editor. So and of course your idea has to be very interesting in the first place. But
Yeah.
sometimes if it's fiction, these things work when it's say non-fiction or some other translation or something like that. When it's fiction, then it's sometimes difficult to put this across, like what is new about your novel, why should you read it. That is where you should be able to give a good idea of what your uh, work of fiction is about.
Okay.
um, is it something, are there books out there now that are similar to it, uh, but this is not exactly that. So these kind of things have to come in a very easy to like at a quick glance, it should make me want to click on that attachment to read the what else is there. Everything is read finally,
Yeah.
but whether it's read immediately or after 1 month, there is a it depends on how strong the pitch is.
So, what are the most common reasons, you end up rejecting a manuscript, and what advice would you offer to aspiring writers to avoid some common pitfalls? I think this would be a wonderful, to get it straight from the horse's mouth.
I think one of the key reasons one will reject is not good writing. If the writing is not good, even if the idea is great, but if I feel okay, this is a great idea, but I'm going to need like 6 months to just get this into place, and so that is one thing. So writing, it has to be of a good quality. So that is one of the main reasons. The other reason why we end up rejecting a lot of things is that they are very derivative. So if at some point, fantasy is the, everyone is talking about fantasy and your book is fantasy, then uh, why should anyone read your book uh, if it is similar to 10 other books out there which are people are already buying? So that is one of the main reasons why I find that one rejects stuff, is that they are too derivative. They are not very original. And the second would be, the quality of writing. Uh, that unless it really appeals to you, know, it's a straight no usually.
So let's just talk a little bit about the industry trends. As more authors are turning to self-publishing in digital platforms, bypassing the traditional routes altogether, because it is not an easy process at all. So, do you believe that legacy publishers will continue to hold sway, or are we really witnessing a permanent shift in power?
I don't think that has happened as yet. The shift in power may not have happened, but it may be moving that way. And uh, if people are moving towards self-publishing, it's not a bad idea, I think, because it, traditional publishing has a lot of constraints in terms of, how many books can a publisher publish in a year?
Yeah.
Uh, how many types of books? If they have 100 books, then they'll do 20 fiction titles, right? So if they commission you now, they may publish you 2 years later, and it's not out of just keeping you in a limbo, but it's because there is no space on the list to do it. So it's a time consuming, slow kind of a thing. So yes, in that case, if you feel that you can do better by, faster, and you really want this thing out, you do it in the self-publishing or that kind of thing. I think what a publisher brings to the table is something that self-publishing has still not caught up to, in terms of, one is a credibility, of course, that if your book is published by a certain well-known, not well-known, but well-regarded publisher,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that gives it a certain gravitas, the book. Uh, that is one of the main things. But apart from that, it's also the entire editorial process that goes into the, in terms of looking at the text and seeing how, because when you write a book, you feel this is the best you could have done. It's only, and then your friends and family might read it and they might have some feedback, but it's only when an editor who is reading this professionally reads it, that they will be able to tell you that, look, these are the problems with it. This is what needs to be fixed. You need to work on these aspects. So that whole process is something that the publishing house provides. And then after that is also the post-publishing support. Sometimes, authors will say that, okay, I got no support from my publisher at all, and I
Yeah.
did everything on my own.
A lot of authors say
A
that.
lot of authors say that, and
Yeah.
there are many publishers who have just so many books that they are not able to give equal importance to a lot of it, and that is very true. But at the same time, sometimes if it's a matter of making your books available, not just promotions, not just doing book events, but if it's making sure that the book is available in the stores, just in your city, but in other places too. Then navigating that entire online sales model which is there now. So all of those things, ideally the publisher should be doing it. I think a lot of people are moving away from it because they feel that they are not getting enough support in that aspect of it, and they might be able to do better, which is a perfectly legitimate way of thinking. I don't see anything wrong with it.
So, Sudeshna, what's your take on growing dependence, on data, trends, and algorithms really to determine what books get published? So do you think this is really enhancing creativity or really limiting editorial freedom?
It is. And I am very, very fortunate that I work in a publishing house, Speaking Tiger, where we absolutely don't do this. We do not commission or publish based on data trends and all of that. Sometimes people might say that, why on earth have you published such a book? And often our books are also, uh, not what is palatable, for a certain dispensation, that kind of a thing also. But that is because we really believe it's a small team, and we really believe that finally it's the editor who has to, decide whether this is the kind of book that we really want to do. And if you really think that this book has to be done, we will do it.
Mm.
um, so but this thing of data driven commissioning is a reality. It is there. It's happening a lot in many publishing houses, and I think that sometimes shows in the kind of homogeneity, homogeneous kind of books that come out of certain lists. So and you cannot always publish based on what is going to always be the bestseller. Sometimes, that is not what publishing is about, at least in certain old school ways of thinking. Publishing is also about, making sure certain voices are heard,
Mm.
that as many kinds of voices are heard, and that will not happen if you go only through data. So that's a big problem, actually.
So, in a landscape that's dominated by a few massive publishing houses, how do smaller publishers and independent editors, continue to carve out space, especially when it comes to championing diverse or unconventional voices? It must be a really difficult things to sift.
Yeah, it is.
Tell us a
It
little
is.
bit more.
It's very difficult. Our publishing house, Speaking Tiger, we completed 10 years this year. And I have seen that journey. It's because I have worked in, like, well-established publishing houses where if you say the name, if you say, you have worked in XYZ place, people immediately know what it is about. And,
Mm.
that kind of recognition is there. But for a independent publishing house, it takes that 7, 8 years, and of course a pandemic in the middle doesn't help at all, to establish not just a voice. I mean, the voice can be established, the quality can be established, but the fact that this publisher is out there publishing a certain kind of books, um, the way the whole book selling engine works is also very skewed. So there are like massive discounts offered to distributors. There are very difficult mechanisms in the market, which make it very difficult for independent publishers to exist independently. It's a big challenge. So it's and I think that's there all over the world, but especially in India, where still reading is not the number one, thing that people turn to. It is a big challenge to make sure your books are out there in the stores, that people are talking about the books, that the word is out there in the media, that this book has been published. All these things are very, very challenging, like maybe 10 times more challenging for an independent publisher than for an established name.
So, you know what, Sudeshna, let's just talk about your stance actually on the growing trend of celebrity authors, who might not deeply be involved, in the writing process, but they still get published. And, it's basically their fame or social media following that will get them, this whole credibility. And they will get a book out even before somebody who's like spent their entire time writing, researching,
Yeah,
putting
yeah.
the book together. So, do you
Mhm.
think this harms, the credibility of traditional publishing?
I mean, maybe it does, but I don't know how worried they are about it, because um, finally these books might just sell so much that, they don't really, it doesn't really matter that you did not publish the other writer who was out there waiting in the wings.
It
Um,
sounds so mercantile.
it is absolutely, and that is I mean, it's that's, not to say that, celebrity, not celebrity, but influencer books, they may not be always uniformly bad, but it is true that they are getting published because of their online fame. And yeah, so I'm not sure where that is taking us, because this is something that has really picked up in the last couple of years, I think, where more and more marketing and everything, promotions are being done online. So if you have an online presence, that adds to your, the chances of your book getting picked up by a publisher. These things have come in recently, and I think we are going to see the repercussions of this in terms of the quality of books that are out there in the next few years. So I think it's very important, even if there's a certain publisher who is doing a lot of these books, that they also make sure that their list has other kinds of books, that they are giving space to other voices and new voices as well. But finally, a lot of it is market driven. So, how much a publisher wants to listen to that and look at the larger picture is in question. For independent publishers, often it's fine, because you know you know we don't give these massive advances and those massive deals. So we are able to focus on, and when Speaking Tiger was established, that was one of the things that we talked about, that we do not want to run after just some names. We do want to do other books. So yeah, so it's a choice that you want, finally the publisher makes.
Let's talk about children's literature. So we are living really in an age, where kids are so used to video content, short form, and constant notifications, and every child has a mobile phone.
Yeah.
So how do you keep children's books relevant today, and what does it really take to hold a child's attention when, they are really in a world of digital distractions, and it's all just one swipe away, and, you find kids today not like I remember I had no other entertainment but to read.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, but today, children are bombarded with so many options. So, how
Mm.
does this work, Sudeshna?
See, I think this kind of the requirement to catch the child's attention is also showing in the kind of books that are being published. So there are books, especially for the say like the 7, 8, 10-year-old reader, which are very different from what we used to read. Ours used to be a lot of text, and we had the time and the patience to sit and sit through that. It's not so that it's not that now, because the books have to move faster. They have to look more interesting. The way you lay out the books has to be something that will appeal to kids. You cannot give them pages of dense text and expect them to enjoy it. So and then so that is one thing about how you present your books. And then secondly, the ability to understand what kids are looking for in terms of stories. So if your story is compelling, if it is really interesting, if it is it doesn't take itself very seriously, it's you've written it because you want to a kid to sit and read the book. That's been your idea for writing the book. I think those books still work. uh, and there are incredible number of children I see these days who actually read voraciously, because um, I have this library, and sometimes these kids will come and take like 3 fat books, and will say, okay, I'll be back day after tomorrow, and we'll be like, I'm sure you won't finish reading it. I said, no, I'll finish. My exams are over, so I'm going to sit and read. So that is
How
also there.
wonderful, Sudeshna, to hear this.
Yeah, it's like music to our ears. We want to just like really like cuddle these kids or something when they say these
I
things.
can imagine.
Yeah, but then then there are others who will say that, okay, I just want to read a certain kind of book because I'm comfortable with it. And there are pictures and the text is a certain kind of a text we want to read. As people who are in some way gatekeepers, because kids have to navigate a lot of gatekeeping. So we, whether we want to acknowledge it or not, we are also gatekeepers. So our job is, I think, finally to say that, okay, read whatever makes you happy. But when after you finish reading this, just try out this other book,
Try
which
another genre.
try another genre, try something different. If you're interested in this, try this. A bit like Amazon, but not like Amazon, because you actually know that
Yeah,
person,
yeah.
you know
And
that
that's so
character.
important, you
That's
know?
very important, and
Yes,
that is what has kept our library going for. It's about to be 10 years next year. So
wonderful.
yeah, so it's basically the fact that you are able to tell the kid one on one that, look, just try this out, or read this and tell me what you think about it, or the fact that we also read what they read. So I think that is a lot of validation for a child. So as a parent, if you're not reading what your child is reading, then there is a big gap over there.
Yeah,
Not just the fact that you are not reading. One is that there are parents who don't read themselves and will say, okay, my child doesn't read. No, that is not going to happen. If you are not going to read your child, if you're going to be on your phone, your child will also be on the phone, right?
yeah.
But sometimes it is also the fact that you make the effort to read what they are reading and you have a conversation with them about that. And that really triggers something in
Yes, it
them,
does.
in being able to. I mean, we've had kids stand there and tell us the entire story of something, not a very some high profile book, but something that they loved. So they'll come and tell us. And then if we say, oh, okay, did you like that character more, or did we like that character more? And they'll be like thrilled because
Yeah.
here is an adult who understands what is making me happy. So,
Those were my best days as a mother, Sudeshna,
yeah,
reading with my
as it is.
son.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Having a conversation with him on, so what did you think about that? And do you think that really made sense what they did over there? And, all of those things. Yeah. So that reading has to be a happy
Yeah,
thing.
it has to be a very happy bonding time, I think,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 absolutely, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about your new book, the latest book, A Home to Haunt, has already created quite a buzz. So can you tell us what inspired you to blend humor with the supernatural in this spooky adventure? And congratulations,
Thank
for
you.
your new book. So tell me a little bit about this.
So I have the book here. I thought I'll keep it. So this is A Home to Haunt. And um, so I think when I started writing the book, my idea was, I just had a small idea of this boy who meets some ghosts. That is where it started from. So the story is about this boy called Poltu. It is set in Kolkata. And Poltu is going with his mama to, it is his holidays, and he is going to the station to catch a train to go to his grandparents' house. But when he reaches the station, he finds that the station is suddenly goes all dark. And when he looks around, he discovers that there are these various otherworldly characters that are around him, that who live in the station. And then when a train comes in, which is not like any other train he has seen, and these, sort of ghostly, airy creatures come out of it, and he realizes that there is this whole other world out there, and he is key to that world for one night to help them. So I think a lot of the story came out of my own reading of ghost stories when I was young. The kind of funny stories, but slightly scary, funny stories that we used to read. I also wanted to tell a story that was full of adventure and which sort of moves very fast, and which also takes the reader on a journey by of its own. So while the characters are on a journey in the book, I also wanted to take the reader on this whole uh, you know thing through the city of Calcutta, and the various interesting and completely uh, you know undiscovered parts that one doesn't usually see in any city. And I wanted to do that too in the story, and some of it just grew out of just the fun I was having while writing it.
So, what do you hope that children will take away from Poltu's, the protagonist eerie adventure through the city?
I think what I really want kids to take away is the fact that they put down the book and say, I had fun reading it. And even if it is a reader who has not read a, a 150-page book before, it makes them sit and read the book till the end and say, I really enjoyed this and I really like this character. I think that would be my biggest prize as a writer, that a child really appreciates the book and goes back to it. And it's a happy memory for the child that, okay, that is a book I read and I really liked.
Of course. So, I'm going to ask you about just one book that you'd love to see adapted into a Studio Ghibli film.
Oh, oh, I did not think about that. It could be any book.
Any book that you think?
Hmm. I think it would have to be my favorite of all time. Maybe I'm being very boring by saying this, but it Heidi.
Lovely.
I
What's
love
that?
the book so much.
What's that one thing every aspiring writer should stop doing?
Being on social media.
Okay, I take that as a message because I write a lot on social media, on Instagram.
No, writing on social media is fine, but obsessively looking at your Instagram feed and getting, one, distracted by all the reels and not writing. And secondly, looking at everything that's out there and feeling that you cannot do it. You need to shut down that noise. That's something that I learned while I was writing my book, that you really need to shut down noise from your life to be able to write. And social media is the biggest noisemaker in our lives these
I
days.
agree.
So, yeah, get off social media for a bit.
So thank you so much for taking out the time today to be on the Mohua show. So from the real world of publishing to the ghostly streets of Kolkata, thank you, Sudheshna, for
Thank
taking
you.
us behind the scenes of storytelling. Whether you're an aspiring writer, a curious reader, or someone trying to make sense of a changing literary landscape, this episode has given us a lot to think about. Until next time, keep turning the page. Thank you, Sudheshna, for being on today's podcast, and we look forward to many, many more books from you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.